Hey my good friends, Sam Haymart for Test Driven TV. Today we're looking at the 2021 Ford F250 Super Duty with the Tremor off-road package. Now, this package came out in 2020 and is rolling into the 2022 model year. This is Ford's answer to the Ram Power Wagon, the GMC AT4, and the like. So I'm going to show it to you inside and out. We're going to take it for a drive out here in the desert, and then I'm going to tell you what I really think. So what do we have here? This is a beautiful race red F250 with a Tremor package, and the Tremor is an off-road package that takes it a step up from the FX4. And so as priced, we're here at $77,000 and some change. We're pretty well fully optioned. We've got the 6.7 liter Power Stroke, about a $10,000 option. There is the winch on the front. That is about a $3,000 option, a 12,000 pound Warn winch, backed with the factory warranty, and you can also get that on other F-Series Super Duty trucks. Mainly the big things that really set this Tremor apart here are these 18-inch alloy wheels, special wheels off-road style, 35-inch Goodyear Wrangler off-road tires, and the suspension on this is also unique. A 2-inch lift at the front, so that's why this thing has a much taller presence, and special shocks to go along with that. Underneath, there are some skid plates, but not the full gamut of skid plates that you might expect on other vehicles that we've seen like Jeeps and smaller trucks, because the powertrain is sort of lifted up and away from the scrape points. We don't see a lot of skid plates going on directly under the powertrain, but underneath the fuel tank and a few other small components, that's where those be. From a visual, you can see this has body color fender lip moldings, both the front and rear, and coming down the side, some nice off-road styled running boards, very similar to that which you see on the Ford Raptor. At the back, of course, you have the Tremor graphic. Tells everybody you spent the money if they couldn't tell already. And this truck also has the spray and bed liner option, which is something I think should be standard out there. And also has, of course, the man step that pulls out of the tailgate and lets you up in there. Something really helpful as tall as this truck is. Now, this is a Lariat trim grade with the Lariat Extra package. So that really is what gets us to the price of $77,000 and some change, along with a few other standalone options. The interior of the Super Duty is a place that I've spent many a test drive review. It's a very familiar place, and it should be. It really hasn't changed since 2015. I will say that because we're in the Lariat luxury package, we have virtually every interior option available. This is a pure black leather interior, unlike some of the other ones I've been in, which have vast different color combinations, like the King Ranches are always bright and cheery. One thing that isn't here is the panoramic moonroof, which is one of the reasons why it's kind of dark and cavey in here. I like it. Basically, I've got power seats. These are ventilated and heated. I've got a power tilt and telescoping steering wheel. Ahead of me is the big giant Super Duty instrument cluster with 2 dials and a big center screen, which is fully digital, and you can program that with any number of things. There's a million different pages and things that you can bring up that give you access to data and information. The center stack here, very well laid out, very practical. All your major controls for four-wheel drive, your trailer towing, your Pro Trailer backup, all of the controls for HVAC and the infotainment system, and a lot of other buttons for a lot of different things. Too many things to list here. It's got everything. I love the center console in this truck. It's got a nice cubby up front here. In this case, it's got a wireless charger and a nice place for your phone. Ports down there to connect up as well. This is the Ford sliding cup holder thing that they've had out since the 2015 F-Series arrived. And inside here, there's enough room for a couple cases of canned beverages. I mean, it's a big place down here. Laptops, file folders, all sorts of things can be put in here. That's probably about 12 Kleenex boxes worth of space in there. And of course, you've got the dual glove box over here. One below, one above. There's a lot of versatility, no question about it. And I will say that these seats are pretty comfortable. Never had an issue with these seats. Rear seat space back here is very impressive. As you can tell, Front seats are set for my height, about 5'8", 5'9", with my boots on. And look at this, I've got like 12 inches in front of me here. I could have a 7 or 8 foot person in front of me with that seat all the way back, and I'd have plenty of space, plenty of leg room still. Headroom, also very good. I've got about 6 inches above my head. I could have a full cowboy hat on and I'd be doing fine. And the thing to remember is if you get the panoramic moonroof, that does cut into the headroom just a tad. And really the only thing I'd have to complain about here is the fact that the seating position, even though there's all this space back here, is very low. You'll note that my knees are perched up in a very unnatural position here. I'd have to sort of spread my legs out to get into a place where it's actually comfortable, and these are very flat and unsupportive seats. Something we've talked about before when I've tested the F-150 and the F-Series Super Duty. These seats do fold upward in a 60-40 split and allow you to use a very cool sort of storage feature under these seats, that it's a fold up and lockable section to where you can actually use that to store gear, or you can fold it flat when these seats are up and you can put big box things in here, a lot of gear, whatever it is. Amenities, actually very impressive. I got USB ports and an AC outlet, as well as a 12-volt outlet back here for charging goods. Vents, as expected, great for this heat. It's 100 and some such thing today. And cup holders as well. There's also a fold-down center armrest here with some more cup holders if you need them. At the end of the day, the only thing I've really ever complained about with the interior of the Super Duty is the fact that the quality is kind of you know, and we've talked about this in other reviews. It's just that the material quality, especially in something that's upwards of $80,000, I've got some really nice trims, genuine wood, leather, and soft stitch trims here and there, right next to the cheapest stuff you'll find in the cheapest vehicles out there. And it's a big contrast that you see. And there's some quality issues that came up during our test drive, which you'll see here in a couple of minutes. But overall, it gets me to an interior score of 4 out of 5 stars. The infotainment system here is the top of the line for this truck. It's a Sync 3 8-inch screen, and it has the B&O audio system. Now, what I have to say here is this truck did not get the upgrades the F-150 got for the 2021 model year. Now, 2022 does bring some upgrades here in the way of infotainment, but here, this is a system that the screen size, the feature content, and a lot of the things that go into this system are lacking behind Ram and General Motors in terms of what they offer on higher end systems. It was really one of the best when it first came out, but it's several years old now and really getting behind the times, and I'll just leave it there. The good things about it is that the menu, the graphics, all of the controls are very good, hard controls for literally everything, and they're big enough you can use work gloves on them. And so they've done a good job of adapting this to work use, truck use, and something that everybody can just get into this truck and make work for them the first time around. It's just getting old. This infotainment system gets 4 out of 5 stars. All right, my friends, I'm ready to take this thing for a drive. Now, normally I start these out on the street and we talk about the engine and how it accelerates and that sort of stuff, but today I want to start out here on my favorite trail because this is an off-road oriented truck. So this isn't hardcore off-roading, but this is a good tight trail with some bumps and things like that that really help us see how maneuverable this is and get an idea of how the suspension is tuned for the rough stuff. And the first thing I'm noticing right away over other vehicles that I've tested from Ford, other Super Duty trucks, is that you can definitely feel the fact that you're higher up, and you can definitely feel the fact that this has a better suspension underneath of you. It's soaking up a lot of the bumps and ruts a lot better, and the rebound control over some of these things like the washes I'm bouncing in and out of, much better. And I haven't yet, no matter what I've done, hit the jounce bumpers. You can tell there's extra suspension travel here. And with this, we have a 10.8-inch ground clearance. And this also comes with, ooh, bump, whoop. I love mud puddles. With this also comes a lot of the traction control toys that you get with the Raptor. Some extra drive modes, rock crawl mode, trail control, so you can set this to a certain speed and it'll just guide you through that with all of the computer controls going on. This also has electronic locking rear differential, and it has a Dana limited slip front differential. So it has the hardware, and I'm pretty impressed from what we've just done there, even though it's a pretty short little drive. the most important thing I can do in any truck is take it out here on the washboard road. And this is because even though any car can come out here, this is a great way to see how well built this truck is, how well tuned this chassis is for more mundane things like farm roads, washboard roads, gravel roads, things like that. And the other thing it really tells me is how well bolted together this thing is. And oh my God, are these seats and these doors and this chassis structure just shaking and shuddering like crazy. I think the big takeaway is things like these seats. Look at the way they're jiggling around in here. They are just an example of how this entire cab, the doors, the dash, everything just seems to be, well, shaky and shuddery like a funhouse ride. Only it's not that fun, you know? It kind of makes it feel like a big POS. Just saying. So as far as handling goes, the suspension, the frame on this truck, very solid. Just like out there on the trail, the ride itself is very well done. This does have a solid axle in the front, so the steering is a little bit heavy and you can feel a lot of feedback through this every time that axle starts bouncing over things. It's not like an independently sprung front end where you get more of a feeling of precision. No, when that front axle starts skating and bumping over things, you feel that through the steering. Bad thing? No, but not quite as refined as an independent suspension. You know you're in a truck, and that's a good thing if you want to be in a big truck. I think the big takeaway I'm getting here on this washboard road, you can see it and hear it, is that this aluminum body structure is flimsy. I hate to say it, but I've driven several versions of this truck out here many times over the years, and it's just a consistent thing. These doors shake in their frames, this dash shakes. Even though the frame and the chassis is very solid, this aluminum body structure, no matter which cab you get, is just, well, you can tell that it's made of a lighter metal. It's just not as solid, as strong as the cabs feel in Chevrolet and in Ram. But alas, the other important measure of a truck like this is how does it actually drive on the pavement where it's going to spend most of its life. And on the pavement, this thing performs well. Ford trucks always have. I've never been disappointed at the on-pavement, highway, around-town driving experience of these big Ford pickup trucks. I've grown up in these things. I got my driving test in one, I don't want to say 30 years ago, but it's been a while. 30, a little more than that maybe. No, yes, doesn't matter. Point is, these are trucks that I've grown up in. I'm used to them, always been happy with their road manners. Like the off-road, I will point out that the steering does have a lot of feedback because of the solid axle suspension. If you don't have a four-wheel drive with this axle, that wouldn't be the case so much, but it's very comfortable and quiet out here on the road at speed. So when it comes to rating this chassis, you know, there's a lot of good things. I love the suspension. I love the tuning of it for off-road driving. It's a very robust chassis, very robust suspension. The problem is the overall cab and body structure that's bolted on top of it really could use some work. And that plays into the overall score of 3.5 out of 5 stars. So as you know, the big question I always like to ask is how does it go? Not bad. Now I did a rolling start and 60. Not bad for such a big heavy truck. Well, it's easy though with a motor like this. All the torque that this has, 1,050 pound-feet of torque, 6.7 liter turbo diesel V8, Ford's own, built and designed, also with 475 horsepower, and it's mated to an also Ford designed 10-speed automatic transmission. This is a great engine, a great powertrain. I've loved it in almost anything that I've tested it in. And unlike the previous diesel from Navistar some time back, we've almost forgotten about that, haven't we? Much more reliable. And Ford has just continually upped the power with this thing as they've gone along. Fuel economy, well, in something this big and heavy, 16 mpg is what I've gotten. They don't actually release EPA figures for vehicles like this, but towing, you're gonna get a little bit less, but around town and out here on the highway, I've been hitting about 16, so not bad. This is a great powertrain. This powertrain gets 4.5 out of 5 stars. All right, my friends, now it's time to talk about value. how do we put a value score on something like this? Well, I'm going to try. So full-size trucks, I think the big thing everybody needs to know is that typically speaking, barring a chip shortage where there's no vehicles on the lot and you get to pay for whatever they have, in normal times, you expect to get $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 off any full-size American truck when you negotiate, because that's just how they sell these things. So when we look at $77,000 with all the bells and whistles on it, yeah, that's a lot of money. But I think, like I say, in normal times, most people are going to expect to pay quite a bit less than that. And so this price is a little bit hard to put a value on, but I'm going to do it. I'm looking at options pricing here, which is kind of on the stiff side: $3,000 for the winch, $10,000 for the motor, $3,000 and $4,000 for some of the packages. Things like the Tremor package. It's a nice package. I like what it does for this truck. It's nice to have all that stuff under factory warranty, but for that money, you can probably go to the aftermarket on a regular Super Duty truck and maybe even get some better stuff, right? So, but if you just want to go buy a truck and have it done and it's already set up like this, it's probably a good way to go. But value-wise, when I look at all of the stuff here, I think the other thing is quality, right? We saw that off-road and on the washboard road. This aluminum body structure, it's, I don't want to say flimsy, right? But it, compared to the steel body trucks that this competes against, it just doesn't feel as solid. It has a lot more shuddering, a lot more vibrating, a lot more wiggling. It doesn't mean it's not a good truck. It just means that it's more flexible, right? But that goes into my quality component when I look at value. And so I put value at 4 out of 5 stars. When we put that in with everything we've already talked about, we're at 4 out of 5 stars for the review. So there you go. I like it though. I like the race red. I think this is a nice looking color combination. If I were to buy an F-250, this might be the way I'd go. It just looks pretty cool. So there you go. If you like the review you just saw, click right here, see my latest one, or better yet, click down here and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Either way, stay tuned.